Thank you, Dr. Badesi, and hi, good afternoon again, everyone. So today it's my pleasure to introduce to you someone that is actually not only going to tell you about the innovative way that we're approaching public health online, but also he's played quite an integral role in the organization and the virtual setting up of this conference that you've seen today. And he's also been quite active in the group chat, as you can see throughout the day, and that is Mr. John Swoop. Now, John is a digital education consultant who has helped highly effective online programs through such as St. George's University, the City of New York, Boston University, Northwestern, YIVO, Fresh Direct, and there are many more. Now, he's a specialist in the Open edX software for open online courses, and he's a graduate magna cum laude from New York University. Now, prior to 2014, John served as a business consultant for Capgemini, working on a large-scale global CRM implementation. And not to stop there, past 2014, John founded his own digital education consulting company where he helps his clients to design, build, and maintain an online program. Now, on a different note, he feels very strongly on the power and the potential of small businesses. So you can actually find his Salt of the Earth podcast online, where he talks with fun, gritty, small business owners about how they built their businesses. So I'm going to hand you all over to John. John?
Thanks very much, Dr. Cumming. And I want to thank all the speakers who have gone so far today with really excellent presentations that have been prepared. And then finally, but most importantly, probably I want to thank everyone that's here, all the attendees that have chosen to be here to attend on a Friday, potentially on a Saturday at our very first virtual public health conference. We thought that in 2020, with public health being very much a focus of the discourse, that a conference like this was necessary. And everyone here has responded with a very resounding yes. So we thank you very, very much for that. And I do hope that we can do anything in our power to make sure that you have a truly great and educational experience in the next couple of days. I'll skip over some of the introduction stuff because Dr. Cumming covered it very, very well. But I do want to say that, yes, I've had the pleasure of working with some great clients along the lines of Boston University, Northwestern, Harvard Medical School, the City of New York. But far and away, my longest and most fulfilling relationship has been with St. George's University, and particularly this public health department. I've been working with the public health department now for over 6 years, and we together have grown it from a public health department that had virtually no online presence to what I think we all consider now to be a world-class online and hybrid experience. So back in March of 2020, our capabilities as this kind of small but capable online program were tested. As COVID-19 spread, the school made the shift to move all coursework to an online-only mode, as many schools did, and this was unprecedented for many schools that had to go through this, and for SGU it was exceptionally unprecedented and challenging. As Dr. Lucas said, SGU is one of the largest medical schools in the world. It is situated on an island. We have a global population of students, many of whom do not reside on the island, and we have unique challenges like labs and rotations. And then finally, people's health literally depends on us being able to do our job well. So when the student body shifted to an online mode, the school leaned on the public health department to very quickly develop and deliver coursework to our newly remote students. When I say quickly, I mean that in one weekend, I believe was the time frame that we had to build out our first course to be delivered to over 2,000 students. I'm happy to say that that course went well, and the subsequent weeks were also successful. We were able to leverage kind of our 6 years of content and experience to pull these courses together. And over the next couple of months, we ended up delivering over 8 courses and 16,000 enrollments for the school. And so in doing this, in responding to this crisis, we certainly leaned on some processes that I would consider innovative. We also leaned on some processes or some processes I would consider less innovative, which might be called basic or foundational. And I'm going to focus on the innovative aspects, especially the ones that relate to COVID and distance learning, because I think that's what we're all here for, we're all thinking about. And these things are not always common. It's good to share this information. What one school is doing can be shared with another. But what I want to make it clear is that what I'm talking about here is very much the tip of the iceberg. And these innovative things are only possible with a strong foundation underneath them. So let's talk about the foundation fairly quickly. For me, the foundation of a good online program comes down to these three things: commitment, structure, and training. Uh, Commitment in that, so for SU, there has been a conscious decision at the department level and with university support to focus on becoming a world-class online and hybrid program. And that commitment has not shifted in 6 years. And so if you're looking at your online program or kind of nascent online program, considering ways to build it or improve it, I think it is tough to build it as a truly bottom-up program. And I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, we decided to take our onboarding program for students, which was an in-person onboarding program, and convert that to a completely online program so that our on-site and our online students both went through the exact same experience. And to do that, it took quite a amount of buy-in from different levels of the school. That's only possible if everyone's bought into this. We had to work with the library to make sure that students who are online could get access to library resources. We had to work with the dean of students to make sure that their presentations they usually give to new students, they could now reach out to and get feedback from new students who are joining online. And all of this is only possible if from a top-down approach, you have commitment. A lot of work is done bottom up, but a top-down kind of commitment is really important, I think, for a good online program. Two is structure. We, as a public health department, have a governance structure where we meet and decide on some of the macro issues that we face online. And we are always trying to make our student experience better. To that end, we have a very specific set of processes for every single course that we develop. Every single course that we develop goes through a fairly flexible process, but what it leads to is a very consistent flow or structure. And what that does is that helps us set expectations, not just for our students, but also for our faculty as well. In addition, every course goes through a QC process. A course is QC before it's released to the public, to the students, where someone who did not build the course actually goes through a checklist of all the things that we've ever seen go wrong with a course and QC that course to make sure that whatever we're sending out to students is 100% ready without any kind of mistakes or things like that. In a sense, we run our public health department like Toyota runs their manufacturing. That's kind of what we've built in terms of a structure. And then the last one is training. And training means a continued focus on training for all staff and faculty, because none of the stuff that we build is going to be any good if our people can't deliver it or don't want to deliver it. So training and continued improvement is very much a focus of our program and kind of a foundational aspect. So that really is the bedrock that allows us to do some innovative things. So when, for example, COVID hit, we had that 1 weekend to build a course. We all pretty much already knew what the course would look like, where to find the content, which faculty could contribute what. And all of this is the basic foundational stuff that goes with an online program. But let's talk about some more exciting things, some more innovative things, and starting with another facet of our program, which is open online courses. So we decided back in 2014, kind of the start of this open online course, and it's called MOOC movement. We decided way back in 2014 that we wanted to offer some of our knowledge to learners across the world. And at that point, it didn't matter if we had 10 or 10,000 students. We just felt that it needed to be done. And since then, we've built courses and delivered courses to students across the world on climate change, sustainability, refugee and migrant health. Our most recent course, unsurprisingly, was about the COVID-19 pandemic. And that course was exceptional in terms of how much we needed to and were able to leverage our experience building these courses, because obviously with how timely and urgent COVID was, we built that course in 3 weeks, down from what used to take 6 months. We built that course in 3 weeks, which includes all of the content, all of the assessment, all of the community support, and most importantly, experts from across the world, many of them who are working in the field, responding to what at the time was this new phenomenon of COVID, and to get them kind of to take a little bit of time from them to help us teach this course was kind of was a huge success, and it leaned on a lot of what we had learned, and that course has obviously been very successful. We have over 10,000 users and climbing take that course. And so how do we do this? How do we deliver this to folks? First of all, we deliver this on an LMS called OpenEdX. It's an open source learning management system. We're able to teach students all over the world. We're able to accept students who are outside of our own kind of student information system. They're not necessarily enrolled in the school. And it's open source. So in that sense, it is free. The school doesn't have to pay any kind of monthly licensing for it. Obviously, anytime you have a system and deliver it to a lot of folks, there's hosting and maintenance costs to consider. But the software itself, you've got this kind of world-class learning management system for what is essentially free. That's what we use to deliver these courses. The second thing that it takes is dedicated, and in this case, I might call it zealous faculty support, which in our case comes from Dr. Badesi, who is the moderator for today. He is our driver. He is the content lead for all of these courses. He's described his job as herding cats, and it literally does not get done unless he is willing to herd some cats and find and organize the experts that we get into our courses. Finally, from a growth perspective, it takes patience. Our first course did not have 10,000 users. And what we do in that case is with every course that we build, and we've learned this over time, is as opposed to kind of find and ask and blast your message out, we plug into very specific audiences. We plug into specific audiences that are already built around topics that we're talking about. Same thing with partners. We share with partners that have a vested interest in our subject material for that particular course. And a great example of this is the climate course. We learned in that course how much organization and kind of industrialization there already is around climate change from grassroots organizations and government organizations that are looking for this kind of content. And you essentially plug into them with very much a give approach. You are providing content just for those that are interested in that content. You can find those groups that are. And what you do is you build that audience up bit by bit by bit until one day you wake up and you realize that you do have a good chunk of folks who like and who follow and are listening to what you're doing. And so these online courses, they've led to some money, not a ton, some enrollments. It's hard to measure, but a few. But it's really strengthened our online voice. It's strengthened our partnerships. It's strengthened our reach. And it's a teaching and a testing ground for our strategies online. And so, again, when COVID hit, and we already had, because of these, a platform and a strategy for delivering courses to students across the world in different time zones. And some of that comes from these open online courses. Lastly, let's hit on some content creation. I know it's something that everyone has questions about. Everyone, kind of struggles with in their own ways. There's not one singular way to do this. Everyone's trying to do better in this area. And anyone that thought they had an answer 9 months or a year ago, that answer has most likely changed. And let's take a look at content creation from this perspective. When it comes to content creation, our faculty are our most valuable resource. They are also our bottleneck. So the goal with content creation becomes, how do we create great content while using as little time as reasonably possible from our faculty who are, going in a million different directions. And we have a few answers here. So one is what I'm showing here, this on-campus content studio. This was built before COVID, but what we have here is, you can see in the photo, you have a digital camera. You have a Microsoft Studio Pro, that big tablet thing there. And what happens is a faculty delivers a lecture just like normal, where they have their PowerPoint presentation or whatever they're presenting on that tablet there while they're being recorded in that room. So you have a normal session where a faculty can go and do one single recording. It's a very familiar experience for them. And all of their annotations, as well as their person, is being captured at the exact same time. And using the software, we can just kind of flip back and forth between those two things and get a good video with all of the content that we need from hopefully one session, one recording. Some other things that are there that are important: some lighting, relatively basic studio lighting, and a high quality lavalier mic, a mic you can clip on. And we found that works best in terms of audio, which is extremely important. I'm kind of glossing it over here, but high quality audio is one of the, I think, overlooked but most important things when we're talking about creating good content for online or otherwise courses. Recently, we've had to deal with a lot more at-home studio setups. So I've seen it set up like this, where you have a kind of a $20 light and a stand. If my desk is set up somewhat similar to this. $20 mic and a stand. You have a cell phone and that lavalier mic, and it's a real testament to how far phones have come. A few years ago when we built that studio that I showed above, the camera there was several $1,000s. I don't remember how much, but nowadays it's really a debate on whether that's any better than some of these phones out there with the iPhone 10, 11, 12, and the Android phones. It's really comparable to the point that a phone is going to be, I think, in 95% of the cases, more than adequate, and that lets us have these kind of $50 or $60, at-home studios. It's very timely when you think about COVID. The timing of this could not have been better. And then finally, when we start going back to campus, we may need to socially distance inside the classroom. We may have more students at home because of quarantine or because of illness. So we have a dual delivery setup where the faculty can host a Zoom call from the classroom, but then broadcast that to students online so they can see and hear their classmates. And the materials here are a webcam, a lavalier mic for the faculty. In this case, it's wireless, so they can walk around, and conference mics that run into the room for the students. Because what's important here and what's the challenges with this room, it's actually quite easy, I think, to have a lecture and deliver it online. We can fairly easily talk to everyone here on Zoom. I can fairly easily, broadcast a session that I'm doing in a classroom. It's very difficult to have this kind of town hall feel where your online and your on-site students have an equal chance to hear and be heard, where you can have a student who's in New York who has a question that's being answered not by the faculty necessarily, by another student. They're having a discussion, this kind of town hall format, with a student who's on campus in Grenada. That kind of feel has been the more difficult to achieve, and we've come a long way in getting there. And part of that is enabling this audience who's in the room to be able to speak to folks who are not in the room. And so where are we going moving forward? Dr. Lucas actually touched on this quite well. I think that in 2021, our focus is on communication and community, because at this point, I think that it's fairly easy to deliver content online. There are a lot of ways to do that and do it pretty well. It's more difficult to build that sense of community in an online setting. And it seems like, especially for a school. Imagine a case study where you're a student and you are going to school for 2 years or 4 years, and you're going to an online program. And so in that program of those 2 or 4 years, you never meet another person in person. How do you make that student feel like a member of a community? And it's not an unsolvable challenge. We have all kinds of groups and communities online. We have Facebook groups, we have Reddit, we have people that find their spouses online. So it happens. It's just challenging, it seems like, for a school. And so that's where we're going in 2021. We have some great programs and experiments running right now. I welcome anyone who's on this to talk about what they are looking at, what their challenges are. And I just want to end this by wishing everyone here luck in this kind of new era of online education that we are entering into. And I thank you very much for everyone's time today.